Hey guys, what up? It's Matt back for another Modern Brew. I was watching or reading an article by Caleb D on Channel Fireball about merfolk in Modern with like a disruptive merfolk deck playing Aether Vials. Now, his was based on the Shapeshifter effect, you know, in relation to the new Dragon's Matter cards from Dragons of Tarkir, and I thought that was pretty cool. But it kind of reminded me of a deck I used to play, and you know, so I thought I would rebuild that deck and sort of change it around a little bit. And this is Illusions, right? So I've got some new cards that make the deck better, and you know, than it was back when I had first played it. Before, I had to play some janky creatures to make it work, and now it's a lot better. So I'm playing 8 or 7 fetches just for thinning purpose. Aether Vial, I splurged. This was my recent splurge of the week, so I'm going to I figured these are great. They go in a lot of decks, and I can build around it quite a bit, so it's not gonna just be in one deck, so I can get some use out of it. Those are the best kind of cards, right? Like lands that you know you're gonna use in everything, artifacts, cards that go in a lot of decks are worth paying a few tickets for, because you're gonna get your use out of it, as opposed to stuff that like can only really go in a couple decks, right? So how does this deck work? Well, you're playing a critical mass of illusion creatures. So let's go through the illusion creatures, and we have Phantasm, which is a 1-mana 1/1 flyer pretty much. The other ability is not really always or often going to be relevant. It's just, you know, it's there, but we're gonna just ignore that ability, and it's a 1-mana 1/1 flyer. And Phantasmal Bear is 1-mana 2/2. What other illusions do we have? We have Krovikan Mist, which is XX flyer for however many illusions you have, and Illusory Angel, which is 4/4 for 3. Cast only if you've cast another spell. Aether Vial gets you around that drawback, because you can vial this out for 3, you know, with 3 counters. Cloud Skate, you know, which you're hardly ever hard casting. This is mostly a suspend thing. When it comes into play, bounces something. Really nice tempo card. It's an illusion. It's a flying evasive creature. Works really well. Rounding out the deck, we have 4 Lord of the Unreal, which is one of the big reasons to play this. Lords are just, you know, always decent in a tribal deck, but this one gives all of them hexproof, which is really the balls, because it gets around this ability that illusions have of, you know, being, you know, killed from being targeted with anything. This saves them from that, so that's pretty sweet. And it works well with Phantasmal Image, especially because, you know, Image has that illusion drawback, and if you copy another Lord of the Unreal, you're getting double Lords, but this is still an illusion, so it gets pumped by both of them. So let's say you have one of these and you copy it, you have a 2-mana 4/4 hexproof. That's pretty sweet. You can also use it to copy Krovikan Mist. Sometimes I'll do that. Vial is just for tons of value in getting around counterspells. Speaking of counterspells, just threw in a couple 1-mana disruptive spells: Spell Pierce and Spell Snare. Slow your opponent down, get around removal, this kind of thing. And Vapor Snags just as a bounce effect to slow our opponent down a little bit. So I didn't quite build a sideboard for this yet, but I imagine it would involve some more disruptive spells and maybe alternate threats. You know, Fathom Seer is a card I'm considering. Negate is a card I'm considering. Dispel might be good. Dat Spell might be good. but there might be a few other things in there. Not quite sure, but I've had fun playing with this so far. Obviously, Mutavault would be the stone cold nuts in the deck, but I don't have those yet, and they are still 5 tickets or so. So still not ready to invest in those, even though they do go in a lot of decks. I'm going to hold off for a little while on those. There's some standard decks, spoiler alert, that I want to build that are going to require some attention pretty soon. So that'll be next. That'll be one of the next things on the video list. But for now, we're going to play some Use Your Illusions in Modern, and let's have some fun with this. I've done some pretty stupid things with this deck. Unfortunately, I didn't get to record, but generally I play a bunch of matches before I start recording. If anyone's interested, the coolest thing I did was vial out 2 phantasmal images after opponent attacks with the preeminent captain, putting Captain of the Watch into play. I respond by ether vialing in 2 phantasmal images, both copying the Captain of the Watch, getting 6/3/3 tokens. It was nuts. Anyway, let's see if we can relive some of that magic and play a game or two.